Today in the studio, it is a great honor to have a fire photographer here with us. At the age of 53, his social media skills are better than most 15-year-olds. I call him Fire Photo Todd. He goes by Todd, but most know him as EPN 564. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming here with us this Friday morning. All right, so we're going to talk to EPN 564 or Fire Todd Photo or Todd, and I'm going to hand it over to Todd.
Well, first off, what's the EPN handle? What's that?
EPN stands for Emergency Photographers Network, and the number behind it is just the number I was assigned from the group. So there's a group of 25 or 30 photographers in Southern California, and we kind of all got together and formed a group, and that's what we called it, the EPN, and so that's where that came from.
All right.
Yeah.
Zim's a part of that, right?
This is Jeff Zimmerman
Yeah,
is, Mike
you
Meadows.
met him at
The Pine Fire?
Yeah,
when
or
we
at the
were-
Wrightwood.
Wrightwood Fire.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that what's his name? Zim?
Jeff Zimmerman,
Zim,
yeah.
Yeah, we caught him sleeping.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
well,
Zim.
Scott. Well, yeah, we rolled up on him and he was sleeping, but he popped right up and he's like, "Hey, what's up, Scott?" And I was like, "Fuck, you gonna piss this guy off, man?" And he got right up and he was nice. He's talked to us.
Oh,
and
he's a good guy,
He ended
yeah.
up giving us a bunch of footage from the
daytime. It was the one where all the
right.
cars were on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, that day.
Yep.
That
That was
North-
great footage,
North Fire.
man.
I think
Yeah,
that
the
was
North
the North
Fire.
Fire.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great footage. He really got in
Oh,
there. and
yeah.
got a lot. I mean, it looked like so apocalyptic, all the cars.
Yeah.
I mean, there was over 20, 30 cars that were torched,
He did have some good footage of
Yeah.
that, yeah.
Yes, he
Right on.
did.
Does Zim work with you? Is he part of the?
He's
the
one of the
EPN?
founders of the EPN, yeah. So, yeah, definitely.
He'd be a good one to get in here.
He would be.
He'd be
Yeah.
a good one. He'd be a
He
good
would
one to get in.
definitely
He's
would
a
be.
great storyteller and has stories.
Yeah, and he's got many years of taking fire photos, so.
Yeah, so that's
got
what we're
a lot
talking
to
about.
say.
What do you do with your photos? Like one of the questions I had was fire first or photography first. How'd that work out for you?
They probably both started relatively at the same time. When I first got my first fire job was with the Forest Service, and I was on a hotshot crew, and
That's your first. Your first.
that was the first.
What year are we talking?
83.
83.
Yeah, so as I was walking out the door, my dad patted me on the back and said, "Stay safe and don't keep this in your pocket." And he handed me a disposable camera, and I think that kicked it off because I never went without a camera in my pocket. From then on, kind of graduated to point and shoots, and then got a real camera, a film camera, and then eventually graduated to a digital, which what we use today. So
Which changes everything.
Oh, man.
It changed. Do you still go back to that film?
never.
Because it's an art, right?
Yeah, and I was really bad at that. Oh, great, another blank roll.
Right.
Shit, man. Yeah, I hear you, man. Yeah, the point and shoots were a wonderful thing. Yeah, no, never, ever. I don't even have the film camera anymore. I had it up until a few years ago, and finally just 86 it was just time to go.
So Hotshots into what?
From that into the county, and then I stayed with the county the rest of the time. I only spent a couple of summers because it's a seasonal thing with the Forest Service. So, but that really whet the appetite because we got to travel all over the western U.S. Saw a lot of fires up close and personal. You weren't hanging out on the streets where the engines were. We were the guys up there doing the work. So that is probably one of the lessons I learned from that type of firefighting is some of the things that stick with me today. And I think that actually helps me get some of the photos that I get because they taught us fire behavior, they taught us topography, weather, fuel, all those things that make a good wildland fire, and how it will burn. And so that allows me to position myself to get a good shot, or what I hope is to be a good shot. I guess that's subject to opinion, but yeah. So
the question I was just going to ask you now, you just said something. So you always, since '83, when your dad gave you that camera, were you able to, when you're just a regular firefighter and you're going out on either forest calls or working for the county, do you still taking a camera with you on all this stuff? I mean,
always
have
had
one
it
in
in
the
my
rig,
pocket.
in your jacket.
Yep, either in my jacket, my fire shirt, somewhere. I always had a camera with me.
No kidding. So
Yeah.
so since then you've been actually not only working fires and rescues, but you've been taking snaps when you had a moment.
When I had a moment, yeah.
Right.
Didn't always happen, but
Right.
But,
no, I mean it's obvious. It's rescue first, but you always had the camera
Right.
with you, huh?
Always.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
really cool. You must have a
Yeah.
shit ton of photos.
I do. I have. Yeah. I have a pretty good amount.
I mean, shit ton, right? I mean, that's a lot,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I'm sure
yeah.
it is. I'm sure.
At a minimum, a crap load, but there might be a shit ton there.
All right. I like Todd.
Yeah.
So when you working for the county, and do you guys? I mean, it was it Riverside? You said
San Bernardino.
San Bernardino.
Right.
San Bernardino, and in the hotshot crews that you said, those are hotshot crews are mainly those are forest fighter.
That's
crews that go out and do that.
Right. That's the hotshot crews are U.S. Forest Service. There's some BLM has some whatnot. I worked for the Forest Service on the San Bernardino National Forest. Was on the Del Rosa Hotshots. They're still in existence today. And then that was seasonal work, and then in the winter time, that's when I started my county employment, and I just never quit. So,
Right. And in forest fires, I was gonna ask you how many forest fires have you fought?
God.
I mean, you can't even count anymore, right?
No, it's kind of a blur.
I tell you, we were just talking earlier about the Wrightwood fire and the Pine Fire. Last year, when
Was
that
that North Fire? What was that?
No, it was all those fires.
There was a pine fire up in
Yeah.
Big Pines. That's why they
Yeah.
called it the Pine Fire. Burn at night, and I think it started. There was a fire down on the Valley floor
Yeah.
at the same time.
Yeah. And it was they were worried about it coming up the mountainside.
Right.
But that was my working with Scotty here. Like I said, now, known him my whole life, but getting into this stringing gig.
Right.
That was the night of those fires, and Scott said, "Well, what do you want to do tonight? Because we can go up to the forest fires." And like I said, I've known what he's done. I know he gets into the middle of these fires, but this is my first time, Todd. It was my very
got it.
first time
Okay.
getting into the forest
Yeah.
and walking in fire. And I got to tell you, out of all the nights that I've been doing this job so far, there's been just a handful of them stuck out. But like I said, Scott's come home in the past. I mean, like we live next door to each other. He's come home and smelling like like he's standing next to a barbecue for 12 hours.
Yeah.
And I really never understood it. But last year when we got up there in the Wrightwood fire, it blew my mind. I mean, Scotty, we parked on the side of the road there,
Right.
and he's like, "Well, we're going up into it. We're going up into that." And
Oh,
I'm
there
like,
you go. That's Pine
yeah,
Fire. Yep.
Yeah. He goes, "We're going." I go, "We're going up into that." And he goes, "Yeah, we're going up into that." And so he gave me a brush jacket, and I
Right
had
on.
my pants, and and he had he had his spares, but I mean, this is nothing new to you, but I'm saying to me, this is the closest I've ever been to fire.
attention getter, huh?
Oh my God, man, it was nuts. And
Yeah.
and it says like the fires, they create their own weather.
Right.
They
can, yeah, absolutely.
The smoke was intense. It was like one of the most intense things. And I've been in a lot of situations with this kid, and over our lives of growing up. But this right here was really gnarly. And
As fires go, this one wasn't that bad. And I've learned, don't go alone. So,
Yeah.
and one, it was a lesson
Right.
for him to be learned, and two, my safety. But this one wasn't that bad, only because it was, we're at Mountain High.
Right.
No.
Yeah,
So,
it's a parking lot
so
in
I
Mountain High
knew,
there,
I'm
yeah.
like, how bad could it be? We're at Mountain High.
Right.
But there's been somewhere I went is like, where what happened? Like, where did the roads go? There used to be
Right.
something there, and now it's gone. But no, we went up in there.
Yeah.
So back to my question, Todd, is like, so when there's a fire like this, and like Scott was saying, maybe this wasn't as bad. You've seen worse, I'm sure, but what are you trying to do? Like, what are the crews like trying? Obviously you're trying to cut it off and keep it from spreading, but what goes in? What's involved in all that? Because there's a lot of crews up here working, and random trucks running up and down the roads, and
Right.
hose lines, going
Helicopters, airplanes.
helicopters. We even got dumped on right here in this shot right here. We just got dumped on before this or after this.
Yeah, LA County had their helicopter up that night.
But
yeah.
what's going on in the mindset of the crews and the companies that are up there working? Like, because what I'm getting at is there's some point where you guys have to look around and go, okay, well, this is obviously a loss. Like they're like, you're not. How do you overwork it or underwork it? Is what
You
I'm.
you never give up.
Right. Yeah.
So what they're doing there is when the first unit's on scene, they'll start the fire organization. Okay, so they divide up the area, or they divide up the fire by geographical areas, and those are what you'll hear on the radio as divisions.
Right.
So if it's a fire that's growing rapidly or exponentially, they'll have a division A or Alpha, and they'll have a division Z Zulu, and then they'll fill in the rest as it goes.
And that could take weeks or hours or days, kind of?
It could take, yeah.
It depends on how big the fire is.
Right.
Okay.
And how fast it's growing.
Okay.
And so what you see when you see the crews on the ground is they're assigned, every crew has an assignment. There's no freelancing. And they're assigned a specific geographical area or a division, and their assignment is to stop the fire in that division. There'll be another crew out in another division in front of them, and they may leapfrog or do whatever they need to do, but basically they're just trying to pinch it off on the flanks until they pinch the whole thing off, and that's the overall objective for everybody.
Right.
The helicopter is trying to cool down the hot spots so the guys on the ground with either the hand tools or if with a hose lay can, they can work. It's a little cooler environment if the helicopter's knocking down the big fire. And that's a really simple explanation, but that's what they're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
And so in your history of fighting forest fires, what was like the biggest one you've ever been involved with?
Yellowstone.
Oh, yeah, you fought a fire up in Yellowstone.
In
wow.
88.
88.
Yeah.
Wow. How, I mean,
Clover Mist fire. I was on a couple. Clover Mist, I believe.
and you got called in for. I mean, obviously you're working in California, so I mean,
right.
When
Well,
forest fires get bad, they send companies for help and.
Right. So that's a federal incident, and I worked for the feds at the time.
Yeah.
And so we were shipped over. Just like when we have the large fires out here, we have units come from all over the United States that come out and assist us when we need it. Same thing there. We just happened to go that way this time.
Right.
So yeah, that was, and I think all of the fires total, the park burned like 12.5 million acres or something. It was some crazy ass thing, man. It was, it was crazy. Yeah, it burnt for months, and while I wasn't there that long, I was there about a month and a half. This was long before the 21 or the 14-day maximum. This was you went until the fire was out, and then you came home.
Right.
This was back when the men were men, right?
Right. And nobody was getting sued for being, and everyone's got to be on the hourly clocked and watched and maintained. And you guys just worked all night and day.
And man, let me tell you, I saw some crazy fire. When the fire's running through lodgepole pine, okay, and that's the stands of the very straight. And all the trees are basically uniform height.
Yeah.
And when it's running across the tops of those, it makes a noise you will never forget.
Wow.
Okay. You can feel it in your chest, the rumble. You can feel the heat.
Right.
And basically, you just get back and watch.
Right. That's kind of what I was saying. Like when it's a forest fire, at some point, you guys, I get you're trying to make a choke point and pinch it off, but
right.
But it's like I said, I've seen fires on, you watch them on TV or the news media. Or you step into them yourselves, but at some point you just look around and go, well, fuck, this is just a giant loss, and you got to kind of almost, you got to worry about what.
Absolutely, that happens, and you just pull back, you regroup, you come up with Plan B, and you start again.
Right.
And you just keep going and going, and you try to just box it in. If it gets bigger, you make your box bigger, and you just try to stay in front of it, and they have a multitude of tools at their disposal. Okay, so a very effective method is fighting fire with fire. So they'll get out in front of the advancing head of the fire. They'll find a natural break, or the Hotshots will put in some line and make a break, and then they'll fire out that material that's between the main fire and the break that they did. As the main fire begins to move closer, it's sucking in the oxygen. It'll pull your fire right to it. Creates a big black buffer, and then it runs out of fuel, and it goes out, and everybody claps, does a high five.
So they're cutting the fuel source off, is what they're starting that other fire for, right?
And for the normal people, that's called a backfire.
Well, yeah, firing out, burning out, backfire.
That's fire talk.
Yeah,
but I was saying for us normal people,
it's
called a backfire. When the news,
I think backfire is kind of an old term, but
that's
it's
whenever
the
I
same
see the
thing,
news, whenever they're lighting backfires, or did you get the shot of the backfire? Because sometimes you can't get to the flames.
That always makes for good photos.
It does. They're sitting there making fire.
That always makes for good photos.
What is your favorite kind of fire to shoot? Is it forest?
Wildland.
Is it it's wildland?
Wildland fire, definitely. That's my niche. That's on the social media side of things. I would say that's probably what I'm known for the most. So that's definitely my favorite. I'll shoot anything on fire, from a trash can to a high rise to a pine tree. But
that leads me into this question: what kind of fires have you shot? Like, everything catches fire. I have a shot list in my head that I still haven't completed. Is there something on fire you haven't shot yet?
On fire.
Or what have you shot?
I can think of. but there are some shots that I'm waiting to get.
Okay.
I'm an ex-Forest Service employee, so albeit it was a short stint, it was many years ago, I still have friends that work for the Forest Service. And one of the things I really want to do is I want to be in the plane when the jumpers are going out and get the shot of their chutes opening off the static line and watching them.
Smoke jumpers.
Yeah, man, that's like the holy grail for me. So someday I'll get there.
I grew up with a kid, and I lived in Redding, California for like 3 years of my life. Up there last in
big
Mount
jumper
Shasta.
base in Redding.
And my buddy Jim Tracy, his dad was a smoke jumper, and and I only lived up there for 3 years, but all the kids that when I moved up there from Los Angeles up there, those were some of the best 3 years of my life. You know, it was between 9, 10,
Some
11,
of the best
12.
air of your life.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I learned
Fresh air.
fresh air, and best air of my life. I get what you're saying there. But this guy's dad was a smoke jumper, and I'll never forget in their fireplace in their house, they used to have this like 4 foot, 3.5, 4 foot like ceramic. A cast of what a smoke jumper looks like with all their all their gear shovels, all their gear on.
Yeah.
And I would go over to the house and I would just stare at that thing, man. It was so fucking cool with all their backpacks and all their gear and their brush jackets. But I mean, but these guys are now jumping out of a plane into the middle of the fire, and now they're trying to. And so, what is a smoke jumper? What are they? I know what they go into, but what is their plan?
Who was it? Was it Howie Long that made it look good? Was it Howie Long or
might have been?
I think it was.
I think it might have been.
Yeah, he did that movie.
Okay, so jumpers, their bread and butter are like the smaller lightning strikes. Okay, they're not. I mean, obviously they'll go to any and all fires, but the idea behind the jumper program is to you'll get the storms come over. They light the lightning strikes like multiple fires, but they're usually pretty small, and they'll throw 2 or 3 jumpers out on each of those, and they'll knock them down and keep them small. That's the idea behind the jumpers. Now, obviously, sometimes that doesn't work out, and then you have a big fire, and then more resources are sent. But that's the idea behind the jumpers.
And what happens if smoke jumpers get caught in there? I mean, obviously a plane dropped them off. So I mean, is it because there's no like access roads to get trucks in there?
Correct.
What happens when smoke jumpers get caught in there? I mean, that's
it's the same as any other firefighter. I mean, they're
trained.
They're trained to deal with it. There's a lot of factors that go into before they even jump. They're watching the weather, they're watching the wind patterns, they're watching a lot of things. So that it's not a suicide mission. But they have their fire shelters.
Sure.
So if push comes to shove. However, generally they will, once they're on the ground, they'll go find a spot. One of the first things that they'll do is they'll go find a spot and they'll cut the vegetation away so they can get a helicopter in there to pick them up.
Okay.
They don't want to walk out because they are out in the middle of nowhere.
Gotcha.
And so that's what they do. And if things are going south or things are going bad, they'll just call for air support and bug out.
Right.
And then they'll regroup.
That's one of those things where you just got to assess it, and if it's just out of hand, like we got to get it.
Right. And understand too that there are eyes in the sky on them also that's keeping an eye on things. There's air attack supervisor, or there's spotters or whatnot, and they're keeping an eye on these guys. They're not just out there alone wandering around in the woods.
Right.
So.
Is the jumper program to be? Are they ex-military or do you can you be just trained to be?
Yes.
The fire department will train you to be a smoke jumper.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yeah. Alaska has a lot of jumpers. Washington, Oregon has some jumpers. Obviously, Redding. McCall is a big base in Idaho. There's the jumper. And the thing that's cool is every year, for the last few years anyway, the jumpers have come down to the San Bernardino National Forest, and they're staged at the San Bernardino National Airport, Old Norton Air Force Base. So that's why I keep.
It looks like you're getting there.
Yeah, I'm weaseling my way in.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
That's cool.
Yeah, so that's like the shot
they come down. They come down to. And like I said, that's
Are they
your
training
shot
or staging?
No,
for something to happen.
It's called a detail, and it's staging.
Okay.
Yeah, and so they're actually here to fight fire, and the reason that is because maybe they're not as busy on their home turf, and so they can't just pay these guys to lounge around and wait for a fire. So they'll start spreading them out where the activity is. If they break fires where jumpers are absolutely needed, then they'll round them up and send them back up north. But the last few summers I've seen the jumper plane sitting on the tarmac out there, every time the San Bernardino bust a fire or the Angeles something, I haul Bud over there. So I'm hoping I can at least be on the ground and see him coming down, because how often do you see that in Southern California, you know?
Yeah.
So.
But as a retired captain, how is it? Why is it so hard? Can't you just put a call in and say, "Hey, man, I'd like to get on this plane"?
Yeah, man, different agency. It's a thing. It's a thing, you know.
A lot of red tape.
Yeah, I mean, I have as much of an in, I guess, as anyone, but
Right.
it's a deal. Yeah, it's a
But your reputation is growing, and that's what's going to get you in.
Yeah.
It's not.
I hope so.
I used to be this. It's I am this.
I hope
And now
so.
you did the Loud Lab show, so now you got this on your
I
resume.
mean, absolutely. This is a huge feather in my cap.
What are your future aspirations as a fire photographer besides that shot? And what do you do with your footage? With your photos? Obviously, you've been published.
Yeah.
Do you get paid for these? Do you give
do.
them? Are they training? What do you?
Okay, so, the big picture. I am a photographer for a handful of agencies here in SoCal. So, LA County, they have a photographer program. I am one of those photographers. I shoot for Riverside County. I shoot for CAL FIRE, which is really nice because that allows me access up and down the state. And wherever there's a CAL FIRE unit on a fire, which is in the forest, then I can, I have the ability to go there. I shoot for San Bernardino County as well, and then a few cities around.
When you say you shoot for, what does that mean?
Okay, so when I am going out with their cap on, okay, so any photos I take have to be given over to that department. I still own the right to the photo, however, they can use them for whatever they want. As can I. So a lot of the things that you see on my social media, the department also has those. Now that's not everywhere. When I'm in LA, I'm kind of on my own. However, I do give stuff to LA City because they do publish my stuff. So,
Right.
So, but yes, so my photos go to all of the major fire publications: Firehouse, Fire Engineering, Fire Rescue, First Responder News, and so my stuff does get published. I've been on a pretty good streak, and about every month somewhere something shows up. So I'm pretty happy about that. You get a little mailbox money, and yeah. So it's cool. And they do pay. Not all of them pay, but most of them do. I've had a few feature articles.
Is that you on the cover?
That is my cover. Yeah,
Very nice.
That is my photo.
It says first place right underneath that. Is that you getting first place, or is that
no.
somebody else got it and they just put that?
No, what that was is that publication, the Firewire publication, is San Bernardino County's fire department's internal magazine. It's similar to the Grapevine that LA City has, or Straight Streams that LA County has. So that's San Bernardino County's, and they publish that quarterly. And San Bernardino County got that first place from IAFF, International Fire, the Union of Unions, okay, for best publication. So they actually got that. So, but yeah, that's my photo.
It's always nice to get a cover shot.
Absolutely. I've had a few. So that's San Bernardino County. So I've had a few covers on there from them. What is that?
This is your Instagram page.
Instagram, yeah. Okay. So I've had a few covers on there. The Grapevine runs my stuff, so my stuff gets around different places. So that's one of the things I do. And then when I'm out and about, if I get some good video, sometimes I'll peddle that.
Right.
If I've got something good. What happens is.
We like it when you don't do that.
I know you do.
We like it when
I
you
limit
don't
that to
do
the
that.
northern half of the state.
And never let us stop you from doing what you do.
I don't think we were gonna, Scott.
No, but you can tell he actually sometimes he knows that.
No, you know what? When I know that
See?
my friends are there,
Sure. No.
because I'm not a video guy.
Right. And but so. What I was going to ask you is then, like in the stringer aspect of it. So you're not really, like you said, I'll pedal it sometimes, but you're never really out there stringing to hustle it that way at all.
Ever.
But the stations find him because they all
See,
follow
that's-
him on social media.
Sure.
They
He'll put it
follow
on
me on
Periscope,
Periscope,
and then
and
they'll take it off of Periscope, and then they don't buy
Yeah.
mics, and then I hear it from Mike.
Right. Well,
Oh,
I mean,
really?
fuck it.
Just kidding.
But that's what happens.
I mean, I'm not, but I am.
But
But they that's what they do. They take
Yeah.
it from Periscope.
So with that said, when you got here, we're saying introductions and all. You said you'd seen me on a few jobs, and I don't remember seeing. Well, I mean, I didn't know who you were, until today. But so, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is because we get a lot of people that sometimes when we're out shooting at night, and there's people that kind of I don't know, you'd say do this as a hobby and or like you know, that they're whatever drives them or whatever reason why they're out there. Sometimes we get a lot of heat and people I've seen on our channel saying, you know, stringers are fucking assholes. They got attitudes and they're dicks and stuff like that. But when you're out there, you know, we got 3 other companies in competition. You know, we're all trying to hustle and get that
Totally
shot.
get it.
Yeah, you know, so I hope I was never a rude or a dick to you on any of the...
Never one time?
Never?
Actually, you were, the one time we spoke that I can remember, you were like, hey, what's up?
Okay, all right,
So,
good.
yeah, it was all good.
No, because I can be a little, you know, when you're out there, you know, you're
No,
trying
man,
to get the shots
you're
and
working.
figure out what you're working, you know,
I get it.
you get it.
Yeah.
But sometimes it does come across as, those fucking stringers are just all pricks and shit. I mean, and
you in particular.
you in particular.
You in particular.
But so, yeah, me in particular. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, because it's like it's one of those things where you know you're working, you got a bunch of other people you're trying to outshoot and stuff like that. So you're not really like in buddy mode, going, "Hey, man, fucking."
And to be honest with you, 90% of the time when I'm out here, I am, unless it's something that's banging and it's gonna be going for a while, I'll scope that. 90% of the time, I'm just shooting stills.
Right.
So it's no competition to you guys.
Yeah.
That's not your thing.
And even when you periscope, it shouldn't be competition to us. You're on a phone. We have professional cameras.
Correct.
So
my man, I got to tell you, my periscope is pretty rough. I mean, it's grainy, it's crappy. I'm saying crazy, stupid stuff because I'm not even thinking, you know. And I mean, I guess it's gotten a little better since the first one, but
Right.
wow, man, it's amazing to me anybody even calls. But you know, yeah. So
You know how it is, though, right? I mean, you get how it is. So my next question I was going to ask you is then, so when you do come down here, I mean, how often do you come to the Los Angeles and South Central and
how long have you been coming down here? That was a question I had. So how long? How often also?
I've been coming here pretty steadily since '09.
Okay.
And
That's about right.
Yeah, yep. The station fire kicked it off for me
Yeah.
for coming out here. I usually stuck to the Inland Empire prior to that.
But you knew everybody who came down here.
Yeah,
You always knew that they
I
came
had
down
this
here.
Crazy weird thing. I was in Arizona shooting lightning, and 4 or 5 cars showed up on the same hill I was on, and it was Zimmerman and Meadows and and all these other. And I met and that was the first time I met them. And then they kind of took me under their wing, and then that was the next year. There was the station fire, and I ran into them all again.
What is the station fire?
It was the largest fire in Los Angeles County. It burnt the top of the.
There's a couple deaths too, right?
Yeah, Arnie and Ted. They died.
Wait, I
Camp
still
16.
don't know what the station fire is, Todd.
It's
Can you
a
explain
very
that?
large wildland fire.
Yeah,
How
he
long
wasn't
ago was it?
he wasn't stringing
09.
yet.
It was 09?
It was in '09. Yeah.
And what burned? What?
It started by Morris Dam,
Okay.
Morris Reservoir, on the front country, and it burned all across the top of the Angeles. It burned all
wow.
the way out to Palmdale, Little Rock. It got all the way to Little Rock Reservoir on the north.
And so you boogied out here to shoot some of that?
I
And
was-
that's how
I
you
was
kind of
on
got
the-
your feet wet coming out here and doing
I
that?
was on the fire for 9 days. I came out strictly for
Working?
photography.
Oh, no, you were
Yeah,
just photographing that.
right, that's all. I came out strictly for. I was still working for the fire department at that time. However,
In what capacity?
on an engine.
Oh, okay.
But
So- okay.
but I came out here strictly for photography at that.
But
on that
working.
incident.
No, you weren't working.
No, I was just here for
So
photography.
you were off.
So I was off.
You were off. You
Right.
weren't working. That's what I was getting at.
Right.
Okay.
Sorry. And so I came out to do that, and that kind of whet my appetite for coming out here. And so ever since then, I've been pretty steady, and I'm here almost every week, at least one night.
Yeah. And I mean, you're retired. So obviously, I mean,
And that changed everything for this man. I noticed when you retired. Like I heard you were retiring, and then I noticed when you retired.
Was there a few more photos?
So much more,
to
and
add
you were
to that- add to that shit ton.
and you were everywhere. Like right,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I almost feel like when you first came out of retirement, one, you didn't sleep, and
I
two,
didn't,
there was
man.
2 or 3 of you
Yeah.
because you were everywhere in all the counties.
Yeah.
and you just all of a sudden, boo, boo, boo. I mean, I'm not a social media guy, but you have to get into it. So I
Yeah.
slowly got into it, and then I saw you and. You're 53, and your social media skills are better than a 15-year-old. I mean, go ahead and explain all the social media you are on right now.
Okay. Instagram is my most popular.
Do you know how many followers you have?
I'm a little over 14,000, I think.
nice.
You're popular on Periscope. You have 29,000 followers on Periscope.
Oh, I lost a few. I was over 30 for a while.
Like a fucking millennial.
Yeah, damn, I'm gonna have to get some scopes going. Yeah, I am popular on so I have a YouTube channel. It's not popular, and I'm on Facebook, but it's not as popular. I'm on Twitter. They're linked. So when I post to Instagram, it goes to Twitter and Facebook, so I don't have to,
Right. Links up with all of them.
Right, yeah. And then if I know I'm going to throw a scope out in a little, if I'm hauling ass to a fire and I got a huge column of smoke showing or whatever, I'll bust out a quick tweet and say, hey, get ready, folks.
On way.
Here it comes.
See, just that right there alone is already a step ahead.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
were you as social media?
Well, who taught you this? Is this all self-taught? Yeah. All right.
When
good.
you retired,
Or do you have a
before
millennial at home in the garage, you know?
I have no
Teach
children,
you.
man.
No children. All right.
Before retirement, were you as social media friendly, or did that pick up after retirement?
I would say it ramped up. I had
The
a
social media
presence-
has been changing too since
right.
you retired.
I had a presence on Facebook. I had a presence on Twitter, and I kind of did this radio. I'm kind of a radio nerd, so I would tweet working incidents. I was one of those guys for a little while, and then that got to be work. So I said, well, I'll do something else. And there's plenty of guys that are doing that, and God love them. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because they keep me in the know sometimes. And I tell you what's really great about the social media thing. I have been in the middle of nowhere, and somebody will, "Paching, hey, I see you're in my area, dude. You want to hook up?" And I'll meet somebody that just a follower. I was in Toledo. Guy hooked up with me, showed me all the city. We chased fires for a night.
Wow.
I would have never had that opportunity had it not been for social media. When I go to Detroit, I've got a pile of buddies in Detroit. I got a pile of buddies in New Hampshire and Rhode Island, and I would have never known any of these people had it not been for social media. So I love that aspect of it.
Right.
And I'm the same way. If they come out here, I've had it's happened a couple times where, hey man, I'm going to be in LA 3 days. Can you hook me up? And I was like, I'll take the day off, man. I'll be there with you, and we'll run around and do something.
That's cool. Speaking of Detroit, so how long? I mean, have you been going and shooting in Detroit?
Sorry. Detroit is a big deal to fire photographers.
It's a huge
and I was
deal.
trying to explain to him, but I can't. I'm not the guy.
It's the Holy Grail.
That's why we have Todd in here.
Yeah, it's the Holy Grail, man.
Why?
For sure. Because they burn. Okay, so give you an example.
What is it about Detroit? Yeah,
I'll get there.
Yeah, okay.
So night before last, day before last, 24-hour period. You ready? You guys sitting down? 64 structure fires.
What?
City of
in a
Detroit.
night?
In a 24-hour period. Yeah, not to mention the brush fires they had. They had a huge windstorm come through, and it just wreaked havoc on everything. And so they were just running incident to incident to incident. They're not big on mutual aid like we are out here.
Right.
So Detroit handles
You
Detroit.
got to handle your area.
Now they do have Hamtramck, and they do have Highland Park, and they will roll with those guys because Highland Park's like an island inside of Detroit, and they're actually dispatched by Detroit now. So, but yeah, man,
People take trips from around the world.
they do. Right. So, and the reason is
Yeah.
because they burn so much. So, have you heard of Devil's Night?
Yeah. Well, that's what I was
Okay.
kind of getting with that.
So albeit that's subsiding a little bit, I wanted to experience Devil's Night for the last 20 years.
Okay. Can you explain the Devil's Night?
So,
what it
so
is?
Devil's
what it is.
Night is the actual Devil's Night is the night before Halloween, and the city of Detroit, the locals just go nuts, and it's an arson spree. Okay, so in the 70s was the apex. It was the height of Devil's Night mischief, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
And they had over 800 fires in the city. Okay, so and it's declining steadily. And the last year I went, there was 99 fires in one night.
When's the last time you were there for this?
2 years ago.
Okay.
So I've been to a handful of Devil's Nights just to experience it. But now I just kind of go in the summer, and I go there for a week, and man, it burns. It just burns.
So, the times that you've been there, I mean, are the arsonists? I mean, have you seen anybody being caught or apprehended for this? Or I mean, or is it? Just,
I haven't personally, but I've heard that You know, hey, they got a
Who
guy.
is
or
it
they
that,
got
who is it that's starting these
locals.
fires? It's just straight locals burning abandoned buildings, abandoned homes,
Yeah.
and resident structures that are just vacant.
Not always vacant, but
Not always
yeah.
vacant, but I mean, Detroit does have a huge, population
so-
of vacant buildings.
Right. So
I mean,
depending on what statistic you want to believe, there's anywhere from 70 to 90,000 vacant structures in the city.
Okay.
And that can be a high rise to a single family dwelling.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, they have a fascination with fire there, and they just
Right.
let her
So,
rip.
so then back to that is Devil's Night, like you said, it's originated in Detroit and it's been roaring now and going since the 70s,
Right.
what you said, right?
Right.
So, I mean, would you agree that, I mean, there's a giant handful of arsonists that live in Detroit?
I would think so.
I mean,
Yeah.
whether it's locals or people that are just getting off on that once a year, but I mean, if this
But
is the
it's-
statistics are what you're saying, I mean,
Right.
there's a handful of arsonists that live in Detroit, hands down.
Yeah. There's multiple reasons that they might burn a building, like if a drug house suddenly moves into the neighborhood, all of a sudden it catches on fire.
Sure.
So there's those kinds of things. I think that a gallon of gas is much cheaper than a movie ticket, and if you don't have a job, then there is
Right.
that, right?
Yeah. But there's obviously there's fires all year long, but
All year.
I mean, the night before Halloween
Goes nuts.
just goes nuts,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Wow, man. Yeah, it's Scott's and you know what? Scott's told me about it, but I've also known about the movie The Crow. You ever seen that movie?
I have.
And there's an incident when they're driving over the bridge looking into the city, and they're like, "Devil's." He's not the guy in the back. He's like, "Oh, Devil's Night," and he goes, "We're gonna make this one, bigger than the last
Yeah.
year's, and one that will never be, it'll be talked about in years to come." And so. And basically,
I gotta go back and watch that.
Yeah,
I don't remember that
back,
part.
Yeah, so back and as they're driving, you look the camera pans through the windows there, and there's buildings on fire, and it's all get going up, but so I've known what Devil's Night is, but it's nice to actually get an authentic description of what's going on.
It's crazy, and what got me was the first Devil's Night I ever went to. I was there, and we were just, you go fire to fire to fire, right? And so about we're 3 or 4 fires deep, and I'm doing my thing, and they don't allow you to take photos like we take here. There's you can't even be on the same side of the street as the fire. You have to be across the street, or the cops will. If
I was
there's a
going to
cop
ask you,
there.
are you riding along on the engines, or are you a rental
No,
car?
I just have a rental car. I have ridden, but not on a Devil's Night.
Okay.
They're just too busy. And they
Right,
just
right,
can't
you're
deal
right.
with you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So when the
But-
cops get there, you got to cross the street?
Yeah,
Or are you supposed to already be on the other side
You're
of the
supposed
street?
to be on their side, and the chiefs. There's a whole gamut of. Some of the chiefs are like way cool, and they're like, and other chiefs are like, get the hell out of here. I don't want to talk to you guys. I don't want to see
I
you
don't
guys.
see you guys.
I don't
But-
care what accent you have.
Right, but the first Devil's Night I went to, I was on through my 3rd or 4th fire, and I happened to turn around to look to see where my buddies were and everything. No shit, guys. There was probably about 60 or 70 photographers behind me. That's how popular it is.
No shit.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Just that deep.
Yeah,
Just
and
clickers.
so right,
Wow.
All from all around the world?
all over, yeah.
Okay.
And so Station 50, so that's their busiest house in the city, I guess, arguably. But if you ask me, that's
Sure.
what I would tell you. And across the street is a supermarket where people stage. Okay,
Right.
and it looks like a used car lot.
No kidding,
I mean, it's
man.
just and the doors are always up, and you hear the bring bring. That's we got to run. Everybody bolts for their car, and we're waiting. Engine pulls out, ladder pulls out, chief pulls out. Now there's this entourage of vehicles, like a
Right.
Victory at Sea
It's
out
like a
there.
parade,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So, okay, then do you know what the
It's
scene
crazy.
what the stringer scene looks like in Detroit? I mean, is
I
it,
don't even think there is one, man.
But I mean, if it's that busy, I mean, it's just
not news anymore. It's like
not
shootings
news
here.
anymore.
It's like shootings here.
Unless somebody dies, it's
Just
not
like
a thing,
a
man.
shooting here.
right.
There's this kid. I don't know who he is. You might know who he is, but I found him on social media, and he's in high school right now, and he's a photographer, and he's getting into fire photography, and he sits there and says, "I can't believe the whole world comes to me." And I have.
Oh yeah.
So you know what I'm talking
Do you
about?
know who it is?
No.
Do you know his name?
I forgot. I found him maybe like a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, but he's
Shane Neckel.
Possibly, but
Yeah.
he's about high schoolish.
He's the young one of the younger guys.
Yeah, and he's just like, I can't believe everybody comes to me. I was born in the
Yeah.
city, and I don't know why, but now
Yeah.
I do, and everybody comes to me. And
It's
so,
crazy.
So do you know photographers that, do you meet different ones there? Or,
Yes.
or like, hey,
I've got-
I'm going to Detroit this week.
Right.
Let's go, or
So,
meet you there next week. Or
I think it's DFD drone, I think, or something like that. Alex, my buddy Alex, I hook up with him. I've got a handful of guys that we all know each other, and I mean, it's like, old home week when I get there. You know, we catch up on each other and see what's going on, and and they have been more than welcoming to me, and I love those guys. They're fantastic, and they're dialed in. They know the city, so basically, when they're there, I just have to follow them, and we're golden.
And wait.
And a Detroit burner, that's way different than anything we got going in South Sound. It's going to burn for an hour. We haul ass, but you don't really need to.
Right. It's gonna be going. It's gonna be going.
Right. It's either nothing or it's
well involved.
It's going throughout is what they like to say.
So out of those 60, 70 photographers that are there, what happens to all those pictures? Do they all do they just go home with those guys, or do they try to do something with it, or it's really not? Do people sell Detroit photos?
Yes.
Or?
So there's a lot of books.
Right. I mean, there's got to be. I mean,
there's a lot of books out that guys make. I don't know if they're selling them or what. I think that
nowadays too, you can just make your own book. You can publish. You know what I'm saying? Like
one of those, right?
iPhotos and app. I mean, you can publish your own books now.
Right.
I mean, people could get their own work out there. I mean, imagine if there's that many photographers taking pictures of Devil's Night. I mean, obviously, what is sensation like? There's.
What do you mean? Have you ever looked at a fire? There's a lot of sensation going on.
No, but what I'm saying is, there's tons of arsonists in the city. There are people taking photos of the fire.
Right.
There's people that are working the fire, and there's people. It's a crazy phenomenon to me.
It is. And
fire's
on top
a crazy
of that,
thing. I mean.
And
it's fun to look at, and it's kind of people are getting hurt. I mean, obviously that sucks, but fire is a very interesting, captivating.
It's mesmerizing
thing to look at.
So they've renamed Devil's Night to Angel's Night.
Well, who did that?
The city. And
that doesn't make a lot of sense. But okay.
So what they've done is they have angels, or these people that volunteer to watch the city. So they have these little yellow lights on top of their car, and there's hundreds of them out, and they're just driving every block, driving around to try to keep the arson down. So that and that's I believe it's working.
There's been a
and
decline.
I believe that's the reason for the decline in the number of.
But still, 99. 99 fires and 99 structures.
How many of those yellow lighted cars have been lit on fire?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Detroit's a rough neighborhood. It wouldn't surprise me if one or two of them sacrificed.
5 or 10. Yeah.
I said up to 50,000 angels were on the streets in 2010.
Oh yeah, could be
50,000 people watching.
Yeah.
See, so
that's
now
crazy.
So now the handful of arsonists, the handful of firefighters. Now we got 50,000 fire prevent watchers involved. It just seemed wow. I mean,
that's crazy.
Detroit is a busy night on October 30th. I mean,
it truly is. It truly is. But it's an experience. It's an experience. It's pretty.
And how many
crazy.
times have you gone? 3 times?
Oh, I've been Devil's Night. 2 or 3 times, I think. 3 times.
What about Detroit itself? Just for fires? Do you go other times besides?
Yeah, I usually go in the summertime because it's warm.
Nobody's burning any homes up in Grosse Pointe, right? No, Devil's Night doesn't reach all the way up there, right?
No, it slows down when you hit the border. Let me tell you.
Those homes are all brick.
Yeah.
A lot of the homes
and they're nice.
Brick.
They wouldn't be standing for any arson over there.
No. I'm sure they wouldn't be.
I've been to Detroit probably, 8 or 10 times, so I'll be going again this year.
I was going to ask, when are you going again?
Yeah, I'll be going back in July. So.
Yeah. Do you have in your travels throughout the United States and firehouses and friends? Do you, other than obviously you like going to Detroit because it's busy, there's a lot of action to go on there. But do you have do you like going to New York or?
Been to New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be going back in May.
Now, do you go there to visit or you go there to shoot fires?
I don't know anybody in New York, but I like the city. Okay. But I go to shoot fires, man.
Right.
So when you go to other cities, how do you? Since you are a radio guy, I know you have the answer to this. How do you listen up?
It depends. So if if there's a fairly easy programmable solution that you can find online, then I'll go ahead and program my radios. If it's
So digital.
if it's something that's going to be really involved or whatnot, most places have a stream now. Okay, New York is pretty easy to monitor, so I just put that in my radios and call it.
Yeah,
good.
because for those of you who don't know, you can't get to the fire if you don't know there's a
Right,
fire. And
right.
the way you know there's a fire is
Right.
you listen up.
Yeah.
Well, and Pulse Point.
No one's going to call you and say,
And
hey, there's a
that's-
fire.
And that's the other thing. Many cities are going to Pulse Point, so
That helps
that helps
tremendously.
tremendously.
But not with Scott.
Yeah.
Scott still rather we just hear it on the radio and find it on the Thomas
Yeah.
guide, right?
Well, I mean,
Well-
Pulse Point goes off of the scanners, right? So
No,
if you hear
no,
the scanners
I-
first, then
No.
if you're-
Today, that's what Steve Miller, when he was here, told you. There are a lot of times these guys will get before the call goes in the house, it's already on Pulse Point. And
Right.
I heard like 2 calls go out tonight, or I saw 2
but
calls.
that
come-
information comes from the program connected to the radio, connected to the scanner.
But it
Right,
doesn't
but it can
necessarily-
spit out first sometimes.
No, yeah, it definitely happens that way. But
Yeah.
the information comes from the scanners. And if I'm not a radio head, but for some reason these ears have figured it out.
Yeah.
You know what you're listening for,
Yep.
and I can go to any city, and if I hear stuff, I'll know what that stuff means. But unless you know how to get to that stuff, then
Right.
there's no way of doing it. I'm not a radio guy, so it's like, thank goodness for Google and the internet. 'Cause,
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
everything's
It
being
wasn't-
done right here now.
Yeah.
Everything.
Now that we don't have to use Thomas Brothers, it's a little nicer.
Right.
I love Thomas
Yeah,
guys.
I do too. That's how I grew up. But
Yeah, same
you
here.
know,
We pulled it out last episode we had.
Yeah,
It
I
was
saw that.
the dog-eared pay. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, over the years, how many of those things have you gone through? Like,
Yeah.
after you have one in your car for a few years until you needed an upgrade. But you could use a Thomas guide if you had like an old '93
Oh,
one.
yeah.
You'd keep it in there till like '97. Okay,
Yeah,
'97, I'll
yeah.
get a new one.
Yeah.
But they were
when I was
very helpful.
when I was working the floor, I mean, that's what we went by. That's everything went by. And dispatch would give you the Thomas Brothers page and grid when at the
Right.
time of dispatch.
Some people still do.
Yeah, Torrance does that. Torrance will still when
Do they?
they break out the grid number and the page number and
Right.
but see what are they talking about? Because obviously, like Thomas, no one's. I mean, you can Google map it, but the Torrance dispatch they will break out a number and a page and what area that is and. That obviously Torrance FD just knows what the lady's
They
talking
may have,
about.
yeah,
right?
they may have their own
That
map book
electronic lady.
that's-
Yeah.
Torrance is the first to
Oh,
do
it's
that,
the
right?
electronic, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And it might also be tied, depending on the call type, it might be tied to a pre-plan.
which
or,
means
or to their mapping system in the.
Right.
to their software they're using to
Right.
map the
It
city.
could be that, and then it could be tied to a pre-plan. So if it's ABC Chemical, they have a sheet in their engine in a notebook or electronically now, I'm sure,
Right.
that says everything about where the doors are, where the exits are,
Right.
what's in there, and where
Right.
it's kept, and
Gotcha.
it's called a pre-plan. Yeah. So,
right. That
yeah.
makes sense.
So
Wow.
yeah.
All right, so I wanna get back to social media for a second because
All right.
that's pretty much what you are these days and who
Yeah.
you are, which is weird to say.
I know, that's weird,
It's,
huh?
I mean, you're a photographer, but because of social media, you're able to do what you do,
Right.
and people are able to see it.
Right.
And then I also have a question: who is Chief Miller?
Chief Miller.
Explain Chief
Chief
Miller.
Miller's a great guy. First of all,
That
Let me-
I've
let me
noticed,
tell you.
and thank you, Chief Miller, for showing the LOUDLABS videos that you do. Very much appreciated. But obviously, he is a chief.
He is a
he
chief.
still a chief?
He is
and
still a chief.
how is he a social media king right now? Well, I mean, I know how, but
Right.
why?
So I had the pleasure of meeting Chief Miller. He came out.
Did a ride along with you.
You're right. He did. He came out to California and he hung out with myself and Brandy. I don't know if you guys know Brandy, but
UPN
106. Right. And
I saw some video of her the other day, and it had a logo on there.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah. So
we won't discuss that.
No, we won't. But
Yeah.
yeah. So, but anyways, where's Chief Miller from?
Louisiana.
Okay.
And he is the chief of a federal. There's a large compound basically, and they have their own fire department, and it's a federal compound, and he's the chief of that fire department. So he's a working fire chief. He just happens to be a social media guru.
How?
He just hopped on Instagram and just started reposting everything that was interesting to him, and it grew and it grew and it grew, and today he is the largest He has the largest following of any fire department or any fire social media. He's the number.
I was
one
wondering
guy.
that. I was because
Yeah.
I didn't know. I mean,
He's over 100,000.
Yeah,
Last
he's at
time I looked,
109,000. I think is what I
so-
saw this morning. But I didn't know if there was anybody else. Because everybody tries
Not
to
that we
have
know of.
pages like that.
Right.
But, some people have pages of just the fire trucks and engines and apparatuses and fires.
Yeah,
and
and
other
he
stuff.
does kind of if it's fire related, he kind of does the gamut of the whole thing. And he sells some of his own product. He's got a small clothing line and some I don't know, supplements or something. I'm
Some
not
Chief
sure.
Miller swag.
Yeah, no, he does. I think
exactly.
he has some coffee mugs and,
Yeah,
and things
right.
like that.
Yeah, he's got shirts and hats and stickers and.
But he
all
has
these
the whole
things.
social media hashtagging them. And
Yes.
it's working and it's amazing.
and it is working for him. He's great. So I'll actually be seeing him again. I'm going to FDIC and hooking up with him. So I'll see him in April. So
Tell him Loud Labs News says
I
hello.
will absolutely do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a good guy. He really is, and he loves the fire service. He's extremely supportive, and he truly enjoys what he's doing, and I think that's the reason it comes across that way in his social media, and that's the reason he's got such a large follower base. And, I mean, you're hard-pressed to find somebody that has a social media account that's in the fire service that doesn't know of him, heard of him, something. Everybody knows Chief Miller.
Yeah.
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 I mean, even the brand newest guys are hashtagging Chief Miller.
Right.
so he's done something right, So, yeah.
How did you guys meet?
He had posted a question on his Instagram about, something. He wanted to know how to attach something or tag something, do something, and I happened to know the answer. And I just sent him a private message and said, "Hey, dude, try this." And it started a conversation, and we just kind of always, every once in a while, we would just, "Hey, what's up?" and "Hey, what's up?" and it kind of grew from there. And then one day he said, "I'll be out in California on these dates. Are you free?" And I was like, "I will. I am now."
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely,
Yeah. So, so that's
What did you
kind of
guys
how
do?
it happened.
What did you guys do?
We came down here to South Central, and
I think I'll find it here.
Now, do you ever, I don't know, use your clout when you're in South Central? Do you know of a couple firehouses and companies that you're friendly with that when you're there, they're like, "Oh, what's up, Todd?" and you'll be able to kind of navigate the night and.
yeah, they're kind of. All the companies down there, they recognize
And then
me.
plus you have Chief Miller that night when you had it. So I mean, right, and like I said, everybody knows who
Right.
Chief Miller is. So
and we stopped by and said hi.
Hi,
And,
did
"Hey
you-
guys, it's Chief Miller."
Yeah, hey,
you know?
check this out. Look who I'm fucking rolling with.
Yeah. And then we went to Detroit like 2 or 3 weeks later, and we did the same thing
right.
there.
That's
and so,
cool, man.
Yeah, but those guys recognize me, and actually, it's excuse me, pretty cool now because I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but. Maybe not every time they wear all of their safety gear, and then they see me come to
Oh, right.
Hey, stop!
Yeah.
Everybody put your stuff
Right.
on, and then
That's how
they get all
CHP
ready
is with
and-
us in their safety vests.
Oh yeah,
on the
okay. So you
freeway,
get it. Yeah,
Oh,
so you
yeah,
get
yeah,
it.
yeah. We
So
get that a
then I
lot.
can, and you know what? Hey,
Or the
I'm down
EMS
with that.
workers.
That's cool, man.
The EMS workers, they
Yeah.
always get in trouble for
Yeah.
not wearing.
And I don't want to
proper-
get anybody in
look who
any
we found.
trouble. And
I was
what
asked.
do we got? What do we got? Yeah, so I don't want to cause any.
I was asked one night.
There's Chief Miller sitting in my truck.
Nice.
Yeah.
I was asked one night. I was on a chemical hazardous response thing in the 10 in Vermont. So it was it was a PCP drug cook-off, and
You sure love that story.
when I got there, the captain was. He was friendly and nice, and then as I was standing there, I had no competition. Nobody showed up and rolled, and then they asked for the LAPD hazmat team and all that stuff. But as the night went on, and I was hanging out, and the captain was really nice. By the time I was getting ready to feed or put my story together, I was gonna ask him, "Can I come back and get a soundbite from you?" And he goes, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah." And then when I came back, and he goes, "All right, I'll give you a soundbite, but you're gonna do me a favor." He goes, "All the first few minutes you were here and you got my guys with none of their safety equipment on," he goes, "You're not using any of that shit, right?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "You got it, but I don't
That's
use any
cool.
of it,
That's
so
cool.
and sure enough,
It's
yeah,
a give
so,
and take.
So when I got in the car, I was like, "Nope, goodbye, get rid of that
Yeah,
one, get rid of that,"
that's
because
cool.
like I said, you don't want to, because next
Yeah.
time when you show up and that guy,
Right.
and he, like I said, they kind of look at our YouTube channel, so the last thing you want to do is burn a captain.
Absolutely.
He asked you to
Yeah.
do this, you do it, and you kind of
And that goes to like the photos that I provide to the fire departments that I shoot for. I never ever put out anything that is not 100%. If their suspenders are down, if their trial's not, I mean,
And that's
it's
something
the
you would
sp-
know
no
or recognize.
gloves,
Right, yeah.
absolutely.
and
And
we
because
That's your team. You know,
yeah,
you know
and
what's up.
I don't want to cause those guys any grief or have their chief calling them up and hey, what are you doing? You
Right,
know?
but I mean,
That's-
you. I
and
mean,
it
obviously, you don't. But sometimes
sucks.
you do. You catch. I mean, you catch it by accident. I mean, obviously,
Yeah,
you know,
it
and
happens.
you kind of, you know, happens.
But and it's man, I have a plethora of really great photos that I can't use. You know, it's like that's a great photo. Where's this glove?
they're all sitting there smoking. And,
Yeah,
you know, cigarettes
it's like,
on the side
oh,
of
man.
the destructor just
Yeah.
going. It's like,
Yeah.
So believe it or not, it's almost been an hour.
Holy
So
cow.
yeah, it went
Has it
real
really?
quick.
Wow.
Before we get going, I know you have a couple stories. Did you get into them, or you said you had a really crazy
Yeah.
one?
Okay. So I got one thing from back in the day when I worked.
yeah,
So,
let's hear some fire stories.
This probably not the happiest story you've ever heard, but
Oh, you should have told it 45 minutes ago.
I know I should have followed the video. That would have been a good segue. But so I have kind of a unique distinction, and in all the time that I worked for the county, there has been in the last 35 years now, there's been 3 air ambulance crashes in San Bernardino County. I'm the only person that's been to all 3. And one of them was in the early '80s. Aircraft MAT 1, Medical Air Transport 1, went down in the Cajon Pass, and they had just picked up a patient, a motorcycle accident victim in Mountain View Acres. They were flying him from Mountain View Acres down the Cajon Pass, and they were going to take him to County Hospital. At the time, was in San Bernardino, and got disoriented in the fog, caught a power line, went down in the creek. Pilot and flight nurse were dead. And the patient on a wooden backboard survived.
wow.
Yeah, and so when the aircraft went down, San Bernardino County Sheriff launched multiple aircraft to go look for it. That's just kind of what they do. And so the engine I was on at the time, we were first on scene. Excuse me. And so as we were making our way down into the creek to see what we were going to do, I could hear one of the other helicopters flying around because it's still foggy.
Sure.
But it's starting to break up. So the other helo landed, and they landed not far from the incident. So we end up picking up the patient, hauling him up the hill, and we're carrying him down to the other helicopter because he's still a critical patient. He needs to go to the hospital.
Is he conscious?
Oh yeah, and he is not having getting in another helicopter.
Oh, right.
He is not happy about
Put me
this
in the- put me in the car.
whatsoever.
Put me in
yeah,
the RA.
yeah. He's like, I'll walk.
Yeah.
I'm good, man. Yeah.
Wow.
So that was kind of weird. So several years later.
Wait, before you continue,
Yeah.
did you take out your camera?
Come on, dude. You're busy. He's working.
Yeah, I don't believe I did.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
No.
Well, no.
You know what? I gotta tell you
that
that incident. All of 3 of these incidents are really burned into my head, and I remember.
So you didn't need a camera.
Yeah, I can. Oh man, I remember that like it was yesterday. But I remember when it was just myself and the engineer that was driving the engine. It was just us 2 on our engine. We pulled up first, and we stopped. I opened the door and stepped out, and the smell of Jet A was really pungent. I remember 6 or 8 inch diameter trees that were cut clean off, and I remember specifically IV bags and white towels in the treetops.
Oh wow.
It was and you could see it was a really thick area because it was a creek and it was really thick with trees, and you could see the hole that the ship augured in, and the creek was flowing at the time, and the magnesium from the transmission of the helicopter was throwing these big white sparks. I mean, it was
Your
like
description, Tyler, is 1,000
Holy
times
cow.
better than a photograph. That description right there was gnarly, man.
I will never forget that as long as I live.
So
I mean,
you
it was
get
just
the
like-
patient in another helo in the airship and
yeah,
takes off, right?
Yeah, he boogies. Yeah, and so then we just did our thing after that.
Okay,
But-
what's number 2?
So
a few years later.
So yeah, several years later, and I apologize, I don't remember the year, but we were working. So San Bernardino County is the largest county in the United States, right? And I had the pleasure or or a punishment of working throughout the entire county. So one of my favorite places to work is Baker, and because they're a very busy station. There's a lot of trauma.
Like Baker on the way to Vegas?
That's
Okay.
the one.
All right.
A lot of trauma, high speed mechanism.
Right, yeah.
A lot of, man, it's a busy
Lot of
station.
rescues,
A lot of fires. There's stuff going on there 24/7. It's a busy house, and so we had a motorcycle accident. I think around Zizek's Road, and between town and Zizek's, as I remember.
Wait, Zizek's, is that the ZZXYY?
That is, yeah.
I've
that's-
never heard that pronounced.
You know what?
I've never heard that
All right.
pronounced.
Educational too. This is great.
Wow.
So
That's fucking great. I was just gonna look at you. I was like, hey man, is that?
yeah, that's it.
How do you
So
say it again, Howard?
Zizek's.
Zizek's.
Zizek's Road.
Got it.
Yeah.
ZZYX.
All right, kids, you hear that? Now
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
on your way to Vegas. We're passing
Yeah.
Zizek's.
So
That's usually about the bathroom break.
yeah, it is. Yeah, I know. Yeah. So so it's 2:00 in the morning, whatever, and I'm there with my firefighter partner Larry Haas, and we have a motorcycle patient. Medic ambulance 53 is there, and Dave and Jolene are on that unit, and so we ordered up an air ambulance to come get our single patient. One of the things, because it's so long, the ambulance will just start boogieing for Vegas with the patient, and they'll meet the helicopter somewhere in route at a, maybe Bailey Road or Halloran Springs or the Summit or one of them, and the helicopter will just talk to the ambulance, they'll land and be waiting, and the ambulance will pull in, give them the patient, and they go on to Vegas, and the ambulance could come back to Baker.
A land either like on the highway on 15 or
They'll
on
land
an off,
at an
offshoot.
off-ramp.
Okay,
right.
got it.
And there's a half a dozen off-ramps,
Right.
Acima Road and a few others. So we were waiting around, no helicopter, and so I told the ambulance, I go, you guys just take off. I'll let dispatch know. You guys will just meet them on the way. This is not unusual. So they take off. They've been gone 2 or 3 minutes, and the dispatcher came on, and I knew the dispatcher quite well. He was also a firefighter, and I'd known him for a long time. And he came up, and he had a very urgent sense of
Tone.
urgency about his voice, and I know when this guy's doing that, nothing rattles this dude. So I'm like, uh-oh, something's wrong. And so he calls me, I answer up, and he's like, I need you to check right now to see if you have communication with Mercier. I said, okay, stand by. So I call on Mercier. It's on a different channel. I call him, can't raise him. He's like, stand by for dispatch. I'm like, okay, and I knew. It hit me. I was like, oh, shit. I know what's wrong. So I told Larry, get in the truck. We got to go. And he's like, what's wrong? And I was like, we got to go right now, man. Start heading for Vegas. And he's like, what? And so I said, we got another call. So they did 3 alert tones, which back in the day they never do. And he said, we were in our patrol, and he's like, Patrol 53, start for an aircraft down Yatesville Road, Interstate 15. I'm like, oh my God, I knew what's coming.
So you guys are the closest?
We're the closest unit. Next closest unit's coming out of Jean, Nevada.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
And they're rolling too, right?
I would imagine
yeah.
that by now they're rolling, yeah. So we took off, and we hauled ass. So the ambulance is in front of us with a critical patient. They're boogieing. So
How fast top speed will the fire engine do?
well, we're in a patrol. We can do 85. They're governed at 85, and that's how fast we were going.
How fast can an engine go full of water?
Really depends on flat ground. They can do 70, 80 miles an hour.
All right.
Yeah. So the ambulance, though, they can do
We all know that.
they
Okay.
can do triple digits if you need to. So Jolene and Dave they realize what's going on. So they're beating feet for they're hauling ass for Yatesville Road. So I don't know if you know, but Yatesville Road is the last road in California before you hit state line. Okay. Okay. So you come over the hill, and
Yeah.
you're in the flat. And so Jolene got to the top of the hill. She was driving. Dave's in the back working the patient, and she came up. We had a little discreet chat channel. She comes up and she says, I can see a fire down there. And I was like, all right. So she got on scene before us. She pulled off and went to it. It was on the east side of the 15, right at Yatesville Road. And wow, man, she was having a rough time. But anyway, so she reported aircraft down with fire, no survivors. They were still there when we got there, but they still have this patient, got to go. So they took off. So
What do you do?
What did the airship clip?
rotor blade delaminated in flight.
Wow.
So they were flying along, and I would imagine the pilot
It
got
just-
a wobble or
it just
something
peeled
because
apart.
people on the freeway said they just saw a fireball go across the sky and land.
Wow.
And it blew us. So everything's on fire.
Yeah.
So we just kind of did the rainfall effect, let it go, and got everything knocked down. Clark County Fire showed up out of Jean. to help us out. FAA showed up from McCarran, so that happened. And then I think it was in '06, I was working at my home station, which was near Lake Silverwood, and I was there with my buddy Chris Lugtug, my firefighter, and we got called for possible aircraft down in the Cajon Pass. So we're like, whatever, it's foggy, that can happen.
Yep.
Just
a regular call.
And so we get those, and usually half the time we can't find them. Somebody saw them fly into the fog, they never came in. A lot of times they're unfounded. So we're taking off, we're going up there, and we're about halfway to what we suspect is the area, and the dispatcher called Chief Hultquist, who was on your video. He was the chief from Apple Valley. He's now the chief of Apple Valley. He was my battalion chief back then, and told him they believe this is Mercier 2. And I'm like, oh my God.
No, okay, wait, just real quick. Now, this is on your third one. But are you consciously thinking on your third one, going, "Fuck! This is the third time it's happened, and I've been to all three.
Yes.
And it's the only time." I mean, are you thinking
Yes,
this?
I am.
mean, wow.
First thing I'm thinking is this doesn't happen. This isn't supposed to happen. This doesn't happen to us. And that absolutely went through my mind. In fact, Chris and I had that discussion. I was like, oh my God, this is the third one.
Right.
And
there's only been three.
There's only been three.
And
you were first on scene to the first and second one?
Yes.
And
I was the incident commander of the second one.
Yeah, because you got there first.
Because I was there first. Yeah. And this one, Engine 40 got there. Captain Sprague got to this one. There are no survivors, obviously. All three people on board died. And it augured.
Were they transporting? Were they in the middle of transport?
They were coming back. They were coming home, going back to George Air Force
How close
Base.
was the third one to the first one?
A couple of years.
No, I mean in area.
Oh, in area? This is the Cajon Pass versus Yateswell Road. Long
not
way.
the second one. There's two of them. The first and the third.
Sorry.
The first and the third.
They were 4 or 5 miles
Okay,
apart.
so it wasn't like the same power lines or something, or any of the same cause.
No.
Do you know what the cause was of the third one?
They flew into the hill.
They just right into the hill on the
Got
foggy.
disoriented.
Right.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
pilot disorientation. Yeah.
Did you know anybody on any of those helicopters?
The last one, I knew one of the people. Not
Just knew them through work.
acquaintances.
Just knew them through work. Just knew
Acquaintances,
who they
yeah.
were.
The one thing about Matt, we used them frequently. They were there before Mercy. Okay, so we used them frequently. And I happened to work in an area where airships are very common. Trauma, if you can't get them by ground in an hour, you get an airship, and that.
Yeah.
So
Like Pomona.
Yeah. Okay. So I remember maybe 6 months or so before this, we had them on a traffic collision. Guy was ejected, whatever, and so Matt showed up, and they had their, they always look so perfect in their flight suits and everything, and as they should, and he had this really cool matte pin. And so he walked up, and they're doing their thing, and he was kind of, this particular person wasn't involved in the immediate patient care. I don't know what the deal was, but he was kind of standing. I was like, man, that's a cool pin. Where do I get one of those? Guy took it off his jumpsuit, handed it to me.
Oh,
and you know what?
wow.
I lost that thing.
Oh.
It's been, I kick myself in the ass every time I tell that story. I get pissed because
Can't find it. Yeah, you
I
looped
can't find
that
it.
Sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
that
know
shit
if he.
happens, man.
I don't know if he was one of the ones lost in because I never knew his name, and I don't know. But
Oh, right.
I still remember that.
Yeah, I know. I can see where you're saying you bring
know.
that all that whole
Yeah.
part of everything in that story. It all has has a moment.
It does. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, that's.
I have a question. I don't. Last time we had a firefighter here, I forgot to ask this question, and we kind of roll about it. And there's this L.A. County fire when we're sitting in Los Angeles. They don't put out shooting calls on Pulse Point.
So?
But what I'm asking is, I want to know why. Why doesn't L.A. County?
I don't know.
Why?
He's not in charge of Pulse Point.
Must be
No.
an internal policy.
But you say no. But when
Do they list it as something else? Do they show it as
City
a medical
does.
call?
City does.
Right, yeah, I know
Obviously,
they do,
but
yeah.
county doesn't even show it.
Doesn't even
have it.
register. So it could
No.
be right down the street. There could be 10 inches down there, and you don't see a thing on Pulse Point.
No.
It's an internal policy.
Huh. I was just wondering why.
They don't want us there, or they don't. I mean, I don't know why.
Have you ever
City
noticed
does and
another
county
call
doesn't.
type that they don't put on there?
Stabbings.
No, but
So violent crime?
No,
Yeah, violent crimes. I mean, because the medical
was a
calls
stabbing
come
call.
out.
I heard a stabbing call come out on county.
county?
Yeah, tonight I did.
But was it on Pulse Point as a medical call?
Well, yeah, no, yeah, it ends up being, but it's like you said, it's no shooting calls will come out. It comes out as the medical, the hard.
Not like they're not having them.
Right.
Yeah,
Job
I was
security.
just wondering
Yeah.
if you knew that answer.
I
as
do
why.
not. I know. If I find out, I'll let you know.
Yeah, right. I'll look you up on social media.
Yeah. I don't. It must be an internal policy.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can think. I don't know.
In your, have you ever been injured bad in any of your years? I mean, what's your worst injury that you've ever sustained as a firefighter?
Hurt my knee one time.
But nothing broken?
No, never.
Wow.
I've never broke anything. I've been extremely lucky and never hurt any of my crew either.
Ankles are usually the things that go, right? Usually, is that the most common injury for firefighters?
I know that those. I know. Yeah. I don't know if it's the most common, but I know it's fairly common.
Well, besides burns.
Yeah.
You walking
Yeah.
them big boots, right? They turn an ankle, coming off
Yeah.
curbs and all that stuff, down ladders, right?
Walking down hills.
Yeah. So wow, so you never really sustained any major injuries, and none of your crew that you were captain
No,
for.
got lucky.
Wow.
No, wasn't luck. That's skill. That's skill.
Okay, I'll take that, but
you
I
were
don't know
a
if I earned
good
it.
/ great firefighter. All right, so I think we have pretty much come to an end now. I mean, is there
we beat
anything
it
you want
to
to
death.
add there?
We're good.
We're good. What we're going to do right now is we're going to put a camera on Todd, and
Uh-oh.
Todd is going to tell us all his social media handles, and we're also going to put them up on the screen.
Oh, Instagram. So I'm at EPN564. Twitter, same thing. YouTube, same thing. Facebook, same thing. I try to make it easy.
EPN 564.
EPN564. Yeah. Yeah, that's.
And then I think
that's
the
where I'm at.
Periscope and,
yeah, Periscope is the same. Yep.
What's your favorite?
Oh, Instagram. You know what? Instagram or Periscope.
I think the kids are calling it the gram these days.
Oh,
right?
is that?
Well, I heard him call it the scope.
Yeah, scope. Yeah, scope. Periscope. I got super. I shouldn't say this lucky, but I got pretty lucky. I was at a very large incident. I was one of the first people to ever really periscope from inside of a pretty significant fire, and my followers went through the roof. I got interviews with Channel 7, and oh my God, it just went nuts.
Interviews where they actually come to talk to you?
Yes, Greg Lee came and talked to me. But the night of the fire, I did a live spot on CNN. I did a live spot on the Weather Channel.
What fire was
Nice.
The Valley Fire.
Valley Fire.
That was one of my first few scopes. I ran the scope for the first one. I think I did 5 scopes from that fire, and the whole.
And you say you were inside the fire. You
Whole
got
damn
good
town was
access, right?
There was nobody there but one strike team of engines and myself and Dave, my partner.
And so when that happens,
Al Simmons was there.
did any of the crews know who you were?
Oh no, I was unknown.
Okay, so you
Totally unknown.
But
it was
not
like
unknown to the crews working this fire.
Oh, we're in Northern California. They didn't know me.
Oh, okay. So,
Yeah.
so then, how did you gain access to the access you got? Did you just get in there and work it? No one was going to tell you,
Nobody said it. In fact, the strike team leader came over and was asking us where to get water.
Right.
It's like, you guys know anything?
So here's your Periscope. Where's it at? Is it above that?
Oh, that would be the very first. I don't even know if it'll play. It's so old, but it might.
I don't. Your very first thing is Los Angeles County Fire Service
then
Day.
it's dropped off.
It's already gone.
Yeah.
All right. I tried.
You did try. Yeah.
I tried. That's all right.
We got that's what put me on the map with social media. I really think it did. The one thing that I did not think about before that was I started scoping, and literally I was in a conflagration. There were 30 or 40 houses burning all around me, right? And there was one strike team of engines in there, and I found one engine, and these guys, their eyeballs are like dinner plates, and they're like, oh shit, and so I hung out with them for a little bit, and I was scoping them. I went out in the street. Every house on both sides of the street are on fire, and I'm walking down the middle of the street, and I'm scoping, and my phone froze. It looked like I had like 800, almost 900 viewers, but the number froze. So I just assumed that's what it was. And there's a few comments going by once in a while. I didn't realize, it never dawned on me until I stopped for a second to look at the comments. The people that live on that street were talking to me.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Were they? How was it? Bad or good?
man. I was getting people. They're like, please go to this address and tell me if my house is still there.
Oh, you were getting that kind of info, and they needed
Dude.
you. And that
That's rough.
right.
I did not want to be the man to tell them, I'm
No.
sorry, your
But
house
you said
is
you
gone.
didn't notice it until
I didn't notice it.
Right.
When I went
Which
back
is-
and looked
Which is
at
nice.
the thing
Now
later,
you're saying looking back now, right?
but half the people are like, what street are you on? The other half of people know what street I'm on.
Right.
There's only like 10 streets in town.
Right,
Okay.
right.
They know where I'm at, and that was really hard for me to take. So when the whole thing was over, I went back and looked at it. I had over 10,000 people watching me one time, and I didn't even know it. I had no clue. Yeah. So that's
Kind
what
of opened your eyes a little bit.
that put me on the map.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was, and it was the weirdest thing. I have 2 phones. I needed a break because I just needed a break. So I went and sat in my truck, the air conditioner on. I'm just chilling in there. My phone rings. I'm like, who is this? I pick up the phone. Hello, it's CNN. How they got my phone number, I have no idea. So I'm talking to this guy, and I'm
CNN, they're
I'm
good.
totally blown away by the fact that I am talking to somebody at CNN. Right? I'm tripping on this. Yeah. So I'm talking to the guy. So he does a soundbite with me for the interview. Right? So I'm just about to hang up the phone. My door flies open, and it's my partner, Dave Mills, that we traveled up there together. And he's all, dude, guess what? And I'm like, what? And he's like, I just got off the phone with CNN. And I'm like, I'm on the phone with CNN. Close the door.
Get in.
Yeah. So
Get another cool air out.
That was a crazy night, man. Let me tell you.
They
So-
say Anderson Cooper works for the CIA, so that's
Oh,
probably
really?
how they got
That must
your
have been
number.
it.
That's how they got your
That
number.
blew me away.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't recognize this number. Who's this? Yeah, that was a trip. But
They're resourceful, those people.
they sure are. But that's kind of what kicked it off. was
Right.
When I got that, and my followers just went through the roof.
Are you jazzed? I mean, are you kind of geeked out about that when that happens? And are you like going, wow, this
Yeah.
whole media structure is fucking cool, man? I mean,
I have to admit, I'm enjoying it.
yeah.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
as a photographer, or even as a video guy, for me, I like seeing my stuff on TV.
Hell yeah, my stuff gets seen.
Yeah,
I
and-
love
right.
that.
That's what I'm saying.
20 years ago?
You'd have to develop it and then
but
take
20
it to
years ago, I
somebody.
mean, yeah, no, I get
Fax
it.
it to 'em.
Obviously.
Yeah, fax it to them.
Take a photocopy and fax it to
But
them.
you get geeked out about
Yeah,
it, and the
definitely.
rush, and especially when you're in when it's a big story, and there's
Yeah.
big fires going on, and it's a lot of really busy, and
At the Blue Cut fire, one of my scopes, not my best one from the fire, mind you, 175,000 views.
Wow.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah, it is.
That's completely crazy to me. It's like, what in the little old me? Why are you watching me? You know?
because you're in it, Todd.
You know?
That's
Yeah.
why.
Well, a lot of it has to
But-
do with it's not just some kid going and filming a fire. It's somebody who knows about fire going and filming a fire. And then when you Periscope, you talk like you know what you're
Right,
talking
and
about.
I do try to explain, here's what you're seeing.
yeah.
And I'm also judicious with what I show. Sometimes the public may not understand what they're seeing. If there's some houses burning and the firemen are not rushing over there to put them out because they have to save the ones that are not burning,
Right.
it's hard to convey that to somebody that doesn't
Right.
understand. And then you get the others that say, put the camera down and go help them fight the fire. And it's
yeah,
like,
right.
well, wait a minute, man, this is not my role here,
Right.
you know? And
right.
yeah,
that's
so-
what we were talking about earlier. It's like sometimes you can be like people from the outside looking in don't quite understand
Right.
like what the procedures are or what's being assessed and how to go about it.
That's why I try to explain it. That's exactly why I try to tell them, hey, look, this is why they're doing what they're doing right now. This is why they can't do more, or this is what's going to happen next, or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, jeez.
Yeah, what was your thought on that? And if we,
My first thought, thank God I wasn't in that engine.
yeah, I mean, so who shot it? What it was ABC's, right?
Yeah, Rob McMillan. When it went over,
Yes.
that was Rob McMillan. He was up there. They had multiple calls going on up there when that this. It's just going to show the same stuff. It's just a static shot of that.
And it has
but-
you talking, right?
I'm
start
probably
talking there a little bit?
blabbing in there a little bit.
Yes, I hear you start to. There you go.
Audio's good. Okay, cool.
Oh,
This
yeah.
mic's had some issues, so. Yeah, so last night there was a lot of incidents going on in the Cajon Pass. This is the Cajon Pass, so if you're unfamiliar with that, this is the fair that gets you from Los Angeles to Las Vegas, basically. Interstate 15, just immediately to the north is Highway 138. So last night, due to the storms, there were a multitude of incidents going on in this general area. There were multiple car crashes, multiple swiftwater rescues. So the county was extremely busy. County Fire Department was extremely busy last night working those calls. And I'm not sure exactly what transpired here, but as you can see, Medic Engine 2 was headed southbound on Interstate 15 from the 138 on-ramp, and the roadway gave way basically right underneath them. The crew.
So you're starting to be a news reporter now.
Well, I'm trying to be like Victor's Package.
Hold on a second here. But
Were any of those firemen injured?
no, and can you talk about how rare of a scene that is? I mean, I've
man.
seen a fire truck in a sinkhole.
Yep, I saw that too.
And then so why I find this real quick? How did
So I have the backstory now. They were looking for a semi that they assumed went off the road as a traffic collision and had gone down into the same creek that they ultimately were in. What I don't believe what they knew at the time was the road gave way, and that's why the semi ended up over there. And it was still in the creek. It's somewhere in that video. I panned down and you can see it.
Okay.
But what happened was they got in the area, and I think there were some waivers, so they stopped. And when they stopped the engine, it sat there for a second, and then it went. And they realized.
So they were still on the road was still
shit,
there,
right.
out there. But as
Right.
they stopped and parked and
High
waivers,
pucker factor, and ching, they all bolted out of the thing.
Oh, they got out before the.
Yeah,
whole
so
engine
here it
was
is
out.
right here, watch.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
they got
Here it
out.
is.
Oh, holy shit!
Yeah, so it did that. They got out, and then here you go.
It goes on. It's got it on tape. Nice.
Oh yeah, Rob was parked right there, and he just happened to be there because there were so many incidents going on.
Yeah.
There it goes.
And boom.
Isn't that terrible?
The county budget for fire engines just
Yeah,
went up.
Yeah.
That is absolutely
Yeah.
crazy. So you went there.
I went the next morning.
The next morning.
Yeah, I
And,
didn't try to go
there
up
it
that
is.
night. The storm was just crazy, and I knew it would just be a zoo up there, and
Traffic,
even though
and we
I
can't
could
get
get in and
anywhere.
all that, I just was like, not worth it. I'll go up in the morning and
Yeah,
shoot
that I've never seen anything like that.
it. Not me either. Nothing like that.
That's
I've seen
amazing.
trucks burn, and I've seen a lot of other things, but I've never seen anything like that. But hey, you know what? Long as they're okay, that's the main thing.
Right.
So.
Do you have any more I've never seens before? Anything pop out in your head? I mean, I know you've seen so much, but I mean, one of those like that. Nothing pops up.
No.
Nothing's gonna
nothing.
beat that, so I guess it really doesn't matter what you say.
And nothing's gonna beat your earlier stories too, man. That is, I mean, I hope our audience really appreciates that. That's the what's the word I'm looking for? The anomaly
know.
of all.
I know.
I mean, of you being involved with all of them.
Only guy on the planet.
Yeah, man.
It's crazy.
That is.
I didn't ask for it. I know that. Because
you-
I mean, those were tough incidents to deal with.
Sure.
I mean, they really were. And
it's
this
like
was
one of your own.
This is long before critical incidents, stress debriefing, and all these things. You just all right,
Yeah.
next call.
Right.
And that's kind of how we dealt with it back then. And
But yeah, you go into three of them. That's a wild.
Yeah.
The odds on that, you know.
Yeah,
I know.
I hope there's not a fourth.
I do too. I think about that often. I hope there's never a fourth, and if there is, I sure hope I'm not there.
Well,
Right.
yeah, I was gonna say. Well, I will say it. If there is a fourth, you will be there, and
I know.
hopefully
At some point.
there's not a fourth.
I hope not, man.
All right, so on that great happy note, I think we're going to end this. And thank you, Mr. EPN 564 Todd.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Thank
This
you
has
so
been
much,
great,
man.
I
Thank
really
you.
enjoyed it.
Thank you, thank
This
you.
was great.
We appreciate you coming in, man.
Thank you. Hopefully
All
it wasn't that
right.
bad. Hopefully
Think
it wasn't
that'll
that
work?
bad at all. That was awesome.
That was
man.
great.
Thank you so much.
That was really good.